Ranger Danielle here with our Bark Ranger Chippy. We just walked the entire loop of Mabel Davis Park in East Austin, and as you can see, Chippy's getting a little hot and tired after our walk, so he's panting. So this is shown here with his tongue hanging out and his mouth open. He's sucking in air, and that's his form of cooling off his body. So we sweat, but dogs don't sweat like we do. They sweat a tiny little bit between their toes, but mostly they use panting to cool off. So today I'm going to talk to you about some symptoms to look out for with heat illness. It's really common in dogs, especially if they are used to being inside for most of the day. When you bring them out to take them on a walk in the park, they're not always used to the hot temperatures of Austin, especially in the summer, and they can have a little bit of a hard time trying to keep cool. This is also common in certain breeds of dogs, so dogs with shorter snouts, and also dogs with thick fur. So it's always a good idea to check to see how susceptible your pet is to heat before you take them on, especially long, strenuous walks in the summertime. So Chippy right now is panting at what I would consider a normal pace. What happens with dogs as they start to experience heat illness is that their internal temperature rises and their body has a hard time regulating it and bringing it down. And so panting is a symptom of that, or a sign, but it's going to be excessive panting. So it's going to be a lot harder than this. It might be considered labored breathing. They might even arch their back a bit because they're struggling to breathe. So if you see panting that just seems really excessive to you, it's going to be a lot heavier than this. That's one of the signs. Another way to tell if your dog is getting overheated is to check their gums. So you're just going to lift up their lip here and look at their gum. You want to find the non-pigmented part. So Chippy has some brown on his gums. You want to find a pink part on their gum to check. His are just pink and normal, but if it's bright red, that's one of the signs. You can do a touch test. So you're going to test the gums by pressing gently with your finger. It should turn white, and then the blood will return back to the gum after a few seconds. If it's immediate, so you press down and it's immediately red, that's a sign of heat stroke. If you press down and it takes 2 to 4 seconds to come back, that might not be a heat stroke symptom or sign, but it could mean that they're dehydrated. So the normal range, I'm going to show you now. Just take my finger and push. The normal range is 1 to 2 seconds. That's normal. If you think that they might be dehydrated, you can also check by pulling on the skin of their scruff or pretty much anywhere on their body. Chippy has a lot of extra fur, so that's not a good place to test with him. You can just pull some skin up, and if it snaps back immediately, that means he's well hydrated. If it takes a few more seconds, then it might be a sign of dehydration. Some other symptoms of heat illness include thick or excessive drooling, especially if your dog isn't much of a drooler anyway and you notice a lot coming out. That could be a sign that they're getting overheated. Another thing to look for is lower cognition or weakness. So if you notice that your dog is having trouble walking, or when you call their name they seem confused, or they're spending a lot of time to come towards you after you call their name, that could mean that their brain is just getting really hot and they're having a hard time understanding you and using their body. That's really bad. That is definitely heat illness that has gone too far, and that needs immediate medical attention. Our goal is to prevent heat illness and to learn the signs and symptoms of when your dog is just starting to become a little bit hotter. We definitely don't want to wait until they're experiencing all the signs of heat illness to take them out of the park. So once you notice your dog is having a little bit of a hard time regulating their temperature, they seem too hot or too tired, it's a good time to leave. If you think that you are in an emergency, especially related to heat illness, it's a good idea to have the phone number and location of your primary vet or an emergency vet available to you, so you don't have to waste any extra time to find that information. So how do we prevent our dogs getting overheated when we're on the trail? The best way is to give them water. I'm going to pour some water in Chippy's bowl here. Giving them water as often as possible is a great way to keep them hydrated and cool. And you can also use a few other things. This is a pet shower. You just attach it to a bottle and you can pour it on their body. I like to pour it on his feet. Remember I said they sweat through their toes, so keeping their paws wet might help them stay cool. If you're in a park that has clean and safe water to swim. You can let them swim to cool off. But giving them water internally and externally is a great way. You can also take frequent breaks in the shade. So as you're walking around, let them sit for a minute, catch their breath. It's cloudy today, but if it was sunny, I'd be really worried about the direct sunlight on him making him hotter. So taking those breaks in the shade is great. And he looks like he's a little bit cooler, so we're gonna keep walking down the trail. If you would like to learn more about the Bark Ranger program, please visit our webpage. We offer workshops on pet safety, responsible practices, and we show some cool gear to use on the trail with your dog. And we also have volunteer opportunities, so if you'd like to help make Austin Parks cleaner with your best friend, join our program.